Assalamu alaikum wa marhaban bik. Today we have a very good topic, and that is مطابقة النعت للمنعوت. What is مطابقة? What is nat? And what is man'ut? Let's go to the board and explain these three terms. First, the word مطابقة. مطابقة, as we saw it there, it means conformity. What? Conformity. That is for something to go in concurrence, to go in line. In English language, we call this concord. Do you know concord? Agreement. So that's mutabaqah. It is talking about the agreement between the adjective and the noun it is qualifying. We have discussed earlier that the word anatu, it means what? Adjective in the Arabic language. And you know that adjectives in every language play serious and important role, because adjectives help in qualifying the noun and describing the nouns. So, al-man'ut, however, al-man'ut, it is the noun that is being qualified. Al-man'ut is what? The noun that is being qualified. Coming back to our book, we have mutabaqatun na'ti lil-man'ut, which simply means the agreement of the na'at to the man'ut. That is the agreement that needs to come in between the adjective and the noun. Now, before we come back to this book, let's look at in what aspects does the adjective need to agree with the noun. There are 4 aspects, and this I've talked about in the previous lesson. So there are 4 aspects that the adjective must agree with the noun on. The first aspect, as we mentioned in the previous video, is in terms of the case. What is case? We are talking about the fatha, kisra, and the dhamma. So if the noun is having fatha or kisra at the end, the adjective must also follow suit. The second aspect that the adjective should agree with the noun on is in terms of the definiteness. What is definiteness? That is, if the adjective definiteness, if the noun is a definite noun, then the adjective should be a definite adjective. The same way, if the noun is indefinite, the adjective should also be what? Indefinite. And an example for these 2 aspects is the first one. If we have the sentence Ja'a talibul mujtahidu. Can you hear? Ja'a talibul mujtahidu. The hardworking student came. You can see at-talibu is the noun there. So al-mujtahidu is the word that is qualifying the at-talibu. Al-mujtahidu is the adjective qualifying at-talibu. So we are saying the hardworking student came. So since at-talibu is having dhamma, we have al-mujtahidu is also carrying dhamma. But if I said darabtu talib al-mujtahida, I beat, no, this is not right. This example is not, because I shouldn't beat a hardworking student. So I would rather say ra'aytu talib al-mujtahida. I saw the hardworking student. Here, at-taliba is having fatha because it is the object of what? The sentence. So ra'aytu taliba al-mujtahida. The fact that at-taliba is now carrying fatha at the end, al-mujtahida should also carry what? Fatha. Last example, I can say marartu bi talibil mujtahidi. I passed by the hardworking students. Now, if you had bi talibi, because of that, al-mujtahidi, which is the adjective, is also taking what? Kisra. So this is what we mean by the first case. The second aspect is the definiteness. When I said ja'a talibul mujtahid, you can see at-talibu, it is a definite noun, the hard-working student. So al-mujtahid, which is qualifying the student, is also a definite word. That's one. The other example for an indefinite one is when I say ja'a talibun mujtahidun, a hard-working student came. So mujtahidun is a word qualifying and describing at-talibu, which is the noun, because the noun here, talibun, which is the noun, it is an indefinite noun ending with tanween. Understood? Yes. So moving on, the third aspect that the adjective should agree with the noun it is qualifying is in terms of what? Number. In terms of what? Number. What do you mean by this? That is in terms of singular dual, and plural, as you can see it on the board, in terms of singular, dual, and plural. This is to say that if the noun the adjective is qualifying is a singular noun, the adjective should also be a singular adjective. An example, I said, جاء الطالب المجتهد. The hardworking student came. The word الطالب simply means is the student. That's one student. جاء الطالب المجتهد. Because of this, the word المجتهد is also coming in the singular form. Is that taken? Now, if I want to dualize this, I will say جاء الطالبان المجتهدان. The word الطالبان now is the dual form of الطالب. الطالبان means what? Two students. Because of this, I'm also saying al-mujtahidani so that there will be conformity, there will be agreement and concord between the adjective and the noun. Is that taken? Now let's pluralize this. If I say جاء الطلاب, the students came. Which students? Al-mujtahidun. So the word al-mujtahidun as the adjective is now coming in the what? In the plural form. This is what we mean by agreement in number. Now the fourth aspect that the adjective should agree with the noun will be in terms of what's the aspect? Okay, we have talked about the case, definiteness, number. Now we talk about gender. In terms of what? Gender. So this is to say that there should be an agreement if the noun is a masculine noun, the adjective should be a masculine adjective. And if the noun is a feminine noun, then the adjective should be a feminine adjective. An example. If you recall, I said, جاء الطالب المجتهد. The hardworking student came. The word الطالب means the male student. جاء الطالب المجتهد. If I want to make this feminine, I will say جاء الطالبة. The female student came. المجتهدة. You can see now, المجتهدة is now coming in the feminine form because الطالبة is a feminine word. So, to recap, the adjectives must agree with the noun it's describing or qualifying in four things. In terms of case, fatha, kesra, or doma, definiteness, whether the noun is a definite noun or indefinite noun, then number, if the noun is a singular noun, dual noun, or plural noun. And lastly, it must agree with the noun in terms of gender. If this is taken, let's go back to the board. Now here we have al-amthila examples. If you recall, in the last episode, we discussed the two types of adjectives that we have. If you have not watched that video, you can go back and watch it before you move on with us, inshallah. So, we said that the adjectives, which is an-na'tu, is classified into two main categories. The first one is that we have an-na'tul haqiqi. Haqiqi, you know how al-haqiqa means truth. So, an-na'tul haqiqi, it means the real adjective. The real what? Adjective. And we have al-na'tu as-sababi. As-sababi. We have the relational, or you can call it the causal adjective. And I gave you examples. Let me give you another example so that if you are not able to watch that video, you can just have a background of what we mean by these two types of adjectives. For the first type of adjective, which is the real adjective, the an-na'tul haqiqi, the example I gave earlier, which is ja'a talibu, look at it. Ja'a talibu al-mujtahidu. The hardworking student came. Can you see this? So the word at-talibu here is the what? Is the noun, which is the adjective. Sorry, is the man'ut, which is being qualified by the what? By the adjective. My pen. Oh. So the al-mujtahidu here is the na'at, which is the adjective. Now this adjective here, it is describing the word at-talibu directly. This is the type of adjective that we call the real adjective because the adjective is describing the noun that it appears after. To give an example of the second type, let's say we have ja'a talibu al-mujtahidu akhuhu. Mujtahidu akhuhu. Can you see now? I've added the word akhuhu. So the meaning has changed. The first one, the hardworking student came. Here, the meaning of this is that the student whose brother is hardworking came. Can you see? The word hardworking here, al-mujtahidu, is no longer describing the noun it appears after. or rather it is describing the noun that is related to the main noun. Can you see this? So Ahu, his brother, is related to the student. So the al-mujtahidu here, indirectly or directly, it is what? Describing the brother, not the student himself. This is why this type of adjective is called an-na'tu salabi. Now we have these two categories and each of them have the examples under them. Let's go through the examples. The first category, an-na'tu al-haqiqi, which is the real adjective. The first example says, هذا منزل ضيق. This is a tight home. This is a tight house or a tight home. This is what? A tight home, a home that is not spacious. It is tight. It is narrow. So the word ضيق here is the noun, the adjective describing the home. Number two, we have تسلقت شجرة غليظة. I climbed a thick tree. A thick what? Tree. Before we go into the second example, let's take it let's take the two sides at the same time. I want us to take the an-na'tu al-haqiqi, the examples there, and examples that are on what? An-na'tu al-sababi together. So the first example says, هذا منزل ضيق. This is a narrow house, an unspacious home, a tight home. Under the sababi, we have هذا منزل ضيق فينه. This is a home that its arena is what? Is tight. Can you see this now? The tightness or the narrowness of the narrowness as a word is no longer describing the home itself. Rather, it is describing the arena or the field of the home, not the home itself. So this is why this is called what? An-na'tu sababi, the relational what? The relational adjective. Good. Number two, the second example we have tasallaqtu. Let me wipe this off first so that we will not have a crooked board. So we have here tasallaqtu shajaratan ghalidhatan. I climbed a thick tree. So the word ghalidhatan is describing the tree here. But on this side we have tasallaqtu shajaratan. I climbed a tree ghalidhan jiz'uha, whose branch is thick. Is this understood? In the first example, I climbed a thick tree. But in this example now, it is not the tree itself that is thick. Rather, it is the branch. So I'm trying to describe the branch, not the whole tree. So you can see, Golidon jiz'uha. Before we move on, why are we treating this topic? This is because all of the four reasons, or all of the four aspects that the adjective would need to agree with the noun on is only or are only applicable to the an-na'tu al-haqiqi, which is the real na'at. As for the relational na'at, all of those aspects will not come in place. I will come to see that during explanation. Number three, we have jalastu fi suradikil fakhiri. I sat in the luxurious pavilion. I sat in the luxurious what? Pavilion. So you can see, fi suradiki al-fakhiri here, luxurious is describing what? A suradik. But on this side, let's take the example. It says, let me wipe this board off first. On this side, we have jalastu fi suradiki al-fakhirati araikihi. I sat in the pavilion whose cushions are luxurious. So here, the word al-fakhira is no longer describing the asurad in the pavilion, rather it is describing what? The cushions. Understood? Good. Number four, we have hatani suratani jamilatani. These two pictures are beautiful, they are nice. But on this side we have hatani suratani jamilun itarahuma. These two pictures, both of their frames are beautiful. So what I'm describing here is the frames, I'm describing the frames, not the pictures themselves. Can you see this? Good. Number five, we have ishtaraitu bisataini sharqiyyaini. Ishtaraitu bisataini sharqiyyaini. I bought two what do we call this again? Sharqiyyaini, just like this what is it called? It's a form of design. That is, I bought two rocks which have that caption, that pattern, that sharqiyin, what pattern? I forgot the word to use, the meaning to use for it. When I remember, I will tell you. Then here is what? اشتريت بساقين شرقيا نقشهما. I bought two rugs whose patterns are sharqiyan. The patterns, they are like Eastern pattern. There's a word that we use for it. An Eastern pattern, what? Rugs. So here, nakushihuma is what is being described by sharak. Number 6, we have atharutu bita'iraini goribaini. I came across, or I found two strange birds. So the word goribaini, strange, is what? Describing the ta'irain, the two birds. But on this side we have atharutu bita'iraini goribin shakluhuma. I came across, or I found two birds whose shapes are what? Whose shapes are strange. So here, I'm not saying that the birds are strange, but their shapes are. So it is the shape that I'm more concerned about. Number 7, we have haulai banatun aqilatun. These girls are sensible, or these are sensible girls. So the word aqilatun, sensible, is describing the girls. But on this side we have haulai banatun aqilatun ummahatuhunna. These are girls whose mothers are sensible. So I'm describing the mothers of these girls to be intelligent, not the girls themselves. These are girls whose mothers are intelligent. So the word aqila here is describing the mothers of the girls. Number 8, we have asharutu ikhwanan musirin. I lived with, or I mingled with, worthy brothers, with brothers who are worthy. So the word musirin, wealthy, here is describing the brothers. But on this side, asharutu ikhwanan musiran abahum. I lived with brothers whose fathers are wealthy. Can you see the difference? Good. Lastly, we have ashfaqtu ala sibiyatil mu'adamin. I felt pity. I pity for children who are poor. I pity for poor children. But on this side, ashfaqtu ala sibiyatil mu'adamin ahluhum. I pity children whose parents or whose household is poor, whose family are poor. Can you see this? So this is the difference between what? An-na'tul haqiqi and a sababi. Now let's see what is the difference in terms of the agreement that occurs between an-na'tul sababi, the types of agreement of adjective to the na'tul sababi and the na'tul haqiqi. Here we have al-bahthu explanation. It says, al-kalimatul akhiratul lati ishtamalat alayha amthilatul qism al-ayman. All of the last words that you can see on the first section on this side, on these examples that are on the right hand side, all of their last words, the examples on the right side, as we have read all of them, the words that are ending all of those examples, what happened? Ishtamala, they all consist of what? Nu'utun haqiqiyya. They all have real adjectives. لأن كل واحدة منها, because each of these words that you're seeing, تدل على صفة في نفس مطبوعها. Each of the last words that you see in these first examples on the right sections, you see that the last words, they are adjectives which are describing the nouns that appear before them or that they are following. وهذه الكلمات عينها في القسم الأيسر نعوت سببية. But these same words, if you look at them on the second side, that is on the left hand side examples, you see that the same adjectives, they are now qualifying as what? As a relational adjective, not as real adjective again. لأنها تدل على صفة فيما له ارتباط بالمطبوع. This is because they are describing a noun that has a relation to the main noun that came before them, as we explained earlier. وإذا تأملنا هذه الكلمات في القسمين وجدناها تماثل مطبوعها. And if you are to matbu'aha, and if you are to study all of these words from the two sides, the right hand side and the left hand side, if you study the adjectives very well, you see that the adjectives, they are concurring. They are looking like the nouns that they appear before. وهو الاسم الذي قبلها, and we mean by this the nouns which appear before all of the adjectives. Like example number 6, You see that the word goribaini, it looks like what? Ta'iraini. And here also the same thing, it looks like what? This. But not in all aspects. Let's move on. We will unveil this inshallah. Moving on, we have في رفعه ونصبه وجره. This adjective, they look like the nouns they are following in the two sides, in terms of when it takes doma, or in terms of nominativeness, or when it takes fatha, accusativeness, or when it takes kesra, that is in terms of genitiveness. وَتُمَاثِلُهُ أَيْضًا فِي التَّعْرِيفِ وَتَنْكِيرِ. And you also see that these same words, they will look like the nouns which appear before them in terms of the definiteness and what? Indefiniteness. So if the nouns are definite, then those adjectives, they are also definite. They will look like the nouns that come before them. وإذا تأملناها في القسم الأيمن وحده حيث هي نعوت حقيقية. But if we are now to take the second side, the left-hand side examples only, and want to study it carefully, you will find out that these words which are now serving as relational adjectives, not real adjectives, وَجَدْنَاهَا فَوْقَ مَا تَقَدَّمَ. You see that apart from what we have said, that they need to agree, they are looking like the nouns before them in terms of Dhamma, Kesra, and Fatha, and in terms of what? Definite and indefinite. Above this, تماثل مطبوعها في إفراده وتثنيته وجمعه وفي تذكيره وتعنيثه. You see that that's in the right hand side example, that the nouns, the adjectives, they also look like the nouns they are qualifying in all of these examples. You see that they look like them in terms of what? The masculinity, femininity, and in terms of singularity, duality, and even plurality. So this is for the examples in the first section on the right hand side, because these ones, they are what? Adjectives that are real adjectives. They need to agree with the nouns in 4 aspects that we have mentioned. But coming here, أما في القسم الأيسر حيث في نعوت سببية. But if we were to look at the second side, the examples on the left hand side now, where these adjectives are now coming as what? Relational adjectives. فإنها ترى مفردة. You see that the adjectives, they always appear as singular adjectives. سواء أكان مطبوعها مفردا أو مثنى أو جمعا. Whether the nouns they are following appear as singular, dual, or plural. The adjectives that are qualifying as relational adjective, they are always coming as singular adjectives. They will not agree in this aspect. وترى أيضا مطابقة لها بعدها في تذكيره وتعنيفه. And you will see that these same adjectives, they will now have to agree with the noun coming after them, because they are indirectly qualifying the nouns coming after them. They will now have to agree with these nouns in terms of tadhkir wa ta'nif, in terms of masculinity and femininity. So in 2 cases, they will not agree with the nouns they are following. Rather, they will be singular one, and they will also agree in gender with the nouns that is coming after them. Coming back to the examples, let's look at example number 9. We have Ashfaqtu ala sibiyatil mu'dami ahluhum. I felt pity for the children whose family are poor. Whose family is what? Whose family are poor or is poor. Can you see this? So ahluhum here, ahlum is what? A mudhakkar word, a masculine word. So al-mu'dami is a masculine word. It needs to agree. And al-mu'dami also is a singular word. So because it's an adjective that is qualifying what? A relational word now. MashaAllah. فَإِنْ كَانَ مَا بَعْدَهَا مُذَكَّرٌ كَانَتْ مِثْلُ. So if this type of adjectives, which are relational adjectives, they are coming before a word, the word that comes after them, if it is a masculine word, then the adjective will be a masculine word. When كَانَ مُؤَنَّثًا, and if the adjective is if the noun coming after them is a feminine noun, كَانَتْ كَذَلِكَ, then the adjective will also be the same. وَلَا اعْتِبَارَ لِلْمَنْعُوتِ فِي ذَلِكَ أَصْلًا. And this adjective, there is nothing to consider of the nouns coming before them in terms of this aspect. So go back through the examples again and check the meanings. You will notice this. Coming to al-qawaid, to end it, we have the rules. These rules will help to make you, to simplify it for you. The first rule says النعت بنوعيه يتبع منعوته في رفعه ونصبه وجره. The two types of adjectives that we have, we need to follow the nouns they are qualified, the nouns that come after them in their three cases of fatha, kisra, dhamma, or as the case may be. وفي تعريفه, and in terms of definiteness, وتنكيره, and indefiniteness. MashaAllah, that's the first rule. The second rule now, النعت الحقيقي, is not talking about the real adjective. That يتبع منعوته فوق ما تقدم في إفراده وتثنيته وجمعه وفي تذكيره وتعنيفه. That the real adjective, apart from the two aspects that were mentioned in the first rule, it will need to also agree with the noun coming after it in terms of singularity, duality, and plurality, and in terms of masculinity and what? Femininity. Good. Coming to the last rule now, النعت السببي, as for the relational adjective, يكون مفردا, it is always going to be a singular word. ويراعى في تذكيره وتعنيفه ما بعده. But in terms of its gender, you have to look at the word coming after it. This is simple. Now, to break it down for you within the last minute, it is to say that adjectives originally will agree with the nouns they are qualifying in the four aspects we have mentioned, in case fatha, kesra, or dhamma, in definiteness or indefiniteness, in masculinity or femininity, and in terms of number, whether singular, plural, or dual. The only difference that will come now is when we are talking about the relational adjective. Just take it this way. The only difference to this rule, to these rules, is that when it is a na'atun haqiqiyun, then it will only need to agree with the nouns coming before it in just two aspects. What are the two aspects? In terms of what? The case, fatha, kisra, dhamma, and in terms of what? In terms of and in terms of what is it called? In terms of number. Sorry, not in terms of number. You need to agree with it in terms of case, which is fatha, kisra, and dhamma, and it will also need to agree with it in terms of ta'rif, that is definiteness, indefiniteness, and in terms of case. These are the two aspects. So the na'at sababi, the relational na'at, will only agree with the noun coming before it in two aspects. The first in fatha, kesra, or dhamma, and in definite or indefiniteness. However, it will disagree with it because this noun sababi will always be a singular na'at. Whether the noun coming before it is singular, dual, or plural, doesn't have business with that. It will always be what? Singular. And in terms of its gender now, it will take its gender after the noun that comes after it. أسأل الله أن ييسر لكم هذا العلم وأن يفهمكم فهما جليا إن شاء الله. إلى أن نلتقي. Make sure you like, share with your friends, your comments at the comment section. Do not forget to hit on the join button below to join our membership. To get our members only content, don't also forget to check our store for our products, and also this to announce to you all that we've been able to produce high quality videos explaining the book Durus al-Lughat al-Arabiyyah, also known as the Medina Arabic course. We've been able to explain with over 100 videos of the explanation of the first volume of this book Durus al-Lughat. Make sure you hit on the link below to get your copy. Check description to get your copy from there. Ila an naltaqi ma'as salam.